Okay, this is section 5.3, writing linear equations given 2 points. A couple of goals. First one, writing an equation of a line given 2 points of the line. Then we're going to use a linear equation to model a real life problem towards the end. What we've done so far, like we said earlier, we using slope intercept form. When you were plugging in M and you were plugging in B. In section 5.2, we didn't have B. We had to find B. You were given M, and you know that parallel lines meant that they had the same slope or the same M. Today, you're not going to be given a slope or a y-intercept. You need to find both of them. It's just one extra step, but it's just like what we did yesterday. Um, Step number one for writing equations, finding 2 points. First thing you need to do is you need to find the slope using the slope formula. The change of y is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Find the slope. Second thing you need to do is you need to find the y-intercept. This is what we did yesterday. So you need to plug in m, excuse me, you need to plug in y, you need to plug in x, m in order to find b, and we'll look at an example of that in just a second. Once you have m and you have b, you're just going to plug those two in place of m and b, and it'll be y equals mx plus b. So you're just writing an equation of the line. Example number one says write an equation of the line that passes through each of these points, 2, 8, and negative 5, 1. Tells you let x sub 1, y sub 1 be 2, 8. So if you'd have labeled that, you'd have labeled this x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. Uh, and same thing with negative 5, 1. Plug those into your slope formula. Y sub 2's value is 1. We're just taking it from right here. Y sub 2's value is 1. So 1 minus y sub 1's value is 8. 1 minus 8 over x sub 2's value is negative 5 minus x sub 1's value is 2. So 1 minus 8 is negative 7, and negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. Negative 7 over negative 7 means divide by negative 7. So your m value, m equals 1 is what you want up with there. It says find the y-intercept, let m equal 1. That's what we just found. And then you could pick either of the 2 points. This is where people get a little bit confused. It doesn't matter if you use 0.28 or if you use .-51. If one of them looks like it's easier to use, like it looks like you can multiply by zeros and stuff like that and give you a little easier work, by all means, you use those points. But as a rule, use the first point. That way you'll always go back to the same one. Your x value is 2 and your y value is 1. And your m value, I'm sorry, your y value is 8, your m value is going to be 1. So we'll just plug those values in. Just like we did in our bell work, y's value is 8, so we just plug it in. M's value we just found is 1, and x's value is going to be 2. So we just plug those in order to find b. 2 times 1 gives us 2, so you have 2 plus b is going to be 8. Get rid of plus 2 by subtracting 2, and b's value is 6. You had m, we found m from 2 points, then we just found b like we did yesterday. Now we're going to plug them in. Y equals, leave y, leave equals, and leave x. Just plug in m's value 1 and plug in b's value positive 6. Again, that 1 is not necessary, so your equation is going to be y equals x plus 6. That's what it shows here. Y equals x plus 6. The geometry connection talks about perpendicular lines. It says two different non-vertical lines are perpendicular if and only if their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. Negative reciprocals, that's just a fancy phrase that means flip it. Reciprocal just means flip it, and it means to change it. So if it's positive, you change it to negative. If it's negative, you change it to positive. So we're determining if these are perpendicular lines or not. It says shows that they're perpendicular. First thing you need to do is you need to find the slopes from point A to point B. So we're looking at this one here. This is x and y, and this is point B, x and y. Those are the ones we're going to look at. So if we're calling point A sub 1 and point, I'm sorry, it looks like the order that they have it, it looks like they're calling this one sub 1 and this one sub 2. Remember, the order doesn't matter as long as you go the same way both times. But it says 4 minus a negative 2. So y sub 2 minus y sub 1 would be minus a negative 2, which means plus 2. And then negative 10 minus a negative 8 means plus 8. Remember, every time you have a minus a negative, it means plus a positive. So 4 plus 2 is 6. And negative 10 minus a negative means plus a positive, negative 2. So 6 divided by over, or 6 divided by negative 2, your m value is going to be negative 3. So from A to B, m is negative 3. When you're looking from B to C, you do it from B to C. This time we'll relabel it just where we don't get confused. But this is x, and now these are x and y. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1. So these will be our sub 2, and these will be our sub 1, just according to the order that we have it written up here. 2 minus a negative 2 means 2 plus 2. And 4 minus a negative 8 means 4 plus 8. 2 plus 2 is 4, and 4 plus 8 is 12. That simplifies the number. 4 goes into both 4 and 12. 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 times 3 is 12. So your slope for that one is 1/3. Okay, so we're showing that they are perpendicular lines, because this slope here, -3, every number is considered to be over 1. Can you flip -3 over 1 to become 1 over 3? And can you change it from negative to positive? If that's the case, if these two are the same, then they are perpendicular lines. You can clearly see that everything, since it's over 1, and that's what it says right here, uh, segment AB and segment BC are perpendicular, because 1/3 is the negative reciprocal of -3, or of -3 over 1. Again, all negative reciprocal means is to flip it and change it. And we'll look at some more examples of that as we go. Very simple concept. Flip it and change it. Parallel lines had the exact same slope. M was the same. So for them to be parallel, they both have to be -3, or they both have to be 1/3. To be perpendicular, it has to be the negative reciprocal. And it's something that you'll see a lot more once you get to geometry class. It says find the y-intercepts of the lines AB and BC. Substitute the slopes from part A and coordinates of one point into y equals mx plus b. So we'll look at those real quick. To find our two y-intercepts, y's value is -2. Your slope was -3, x was -8. So when you put those two together, you get a positive 24. And then when you subtract 24 from both sides, you get -26 on the left equals b. Your slope of your line BC was 1/3 though. Multiply everything by 3, and you'll show these steps real quick just to make sure we're all on the same page. -2 equals 1/3 times -8 plus b. Make it a little bit easier for us if we get rid of this divide by 3. So multiply by 3 on all your terms. 3 times -2 is -6. These will cancel and just leave you with -8. And then 3 times b would be plus 3b. That says -8, subtract 8. So add 8 to both sides, leaves you with 2 over here equals 3b. Divide by 3 on both sides, and b equals 2 over 3. And you had your slopes from earlier. We had -3 for AB, and we had 1/3 for BC, and we just found our B values. You just plug them in. You leave Y, you leave equals, and you leave X. M's value was -3, and B's value we found was -26. For the other one, M's value was 1/3. You leave Y, you leave equals, and you leave X, and B's value we just found is 2/3. So plus 2/3. Okay, then we had a checkpoint on the back. It says write an equation in slope-intercept form, the line that passes through the points. You have 3 things you need to do. You need to find the slope, you need to find the y-intercept, and then you need to go ahead and plug in m, and you need to plug in b. So in order to find the slope, remember your slope formula is the change of y over the change of x. So if we call this x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2, all we got to do is plug the values in. 1 minus 3 over -4 minus a -7. Minus a negative means plus a positive. So your slope of your first one, or your slope of your line, It's going to be negative 2 over negative 4 plus 7 will be a positive 3. So your slope, and I know I got it really condensed writing up here, but your slope is negative 2 over 3. Then you need to find your b value. You can use any you could use any other points you want. Like I said, it makes it a whole lot easier if you just use the first point, just the way you keep everything consistent. It's 3 equals y equals mx plus b, negative 2 over 3 times negative 7 plus b in order to find what b is. Get rid of your divide by 3 by multiplying everything by 3. A lot of times with fractions, that's way easier to do it that way. 3 times 3 is 9 equals, these will cancel. Negative 2 times negative 7 will be a positive 14 plus 3 times b. I'm going to have to push the page down just a little bit for this. Subtract 14 on both sides to get rid of that positive 14. Do the same thing on this side. Leaves you with negative 5 equals, these will cancel. 3b. And divide by 3 on both sides to get b by itself. B's value equals negative 5 over 3. So you have m and you have b. So y equals, you leave y, you leave equals, and you leave x. Plug in m, you can see it's plugged in here. And plug in your b, negative 5 over 3, mx plus b. Again, you got to work through all of those steps. I know it's tedious, but as you do it more and more, you'll get faster at it. For this next one, you need to find your slope. We'll use this same formula every time where we don't have to keep rewriting it. But x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, all you're doing is plugging them in where they belong. So 1 minus a negative 6 over negative 2 minus 5. 1 minus a negative 6 becomes 1 plus 6, which is 7, over negative 2 minus 5 is negative 7. So your m value is a negative 1. So y equals mx plus b. We use the first point to use our x and our y values. So negative 6 equals m is negative 1 times x is 5 plus b. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5 plus b. And then get rid of negative 5 or minus 5 by adding 5 on both sides. Leaves you with negative 1 equals, these will cancel. B, so you have your m value and you have your b value. Plug in y equals mx plus b, leave y, leave equals, and leave x. Plug in m's value as negative 1. Notice it's there. And b's value of negative 1, and I know we're getting a little sloppy, is minus 1 there. And then the last one, you got to find your slope, and you got to find your y-intercept again. So go a little bit quicker through this one. Negative 3 minus a negative 9 over 6 minus a negative 2. Negative 3 plus 9 is going to be 6, and 6 plus 2 is going to be 8. The number 2 goes into both of them. So your slope is going to be 3 over 4 for this one. And then use that to find your y-intercept. Negative 9 equals 3 over 4 times negative 2 plus b. Get rid of your divide by 4 by multiplying everything by 4. So negative 36 equals, these will cancel, negative 6 plus 4b. Get rid of negative 6 by adding 6 on both sides. You have negative 30 equals 4b. And divide by 4 on both sides. So b equals negative 30 over 4, which the number 2 goes into both of them. So we get b's value, I have to put it right here, for lack of space, negative 15 over 2. So you have your m value, which is 3/4 x, and your b value we just found, which is negative 15 over 2, so minus 15 over 2. Then it says write an equation of a line that's perpendicular to these. It's the same steps that we just did. Exact same steps, except what you need to do is you need to take that slope here, m, which is 3. M's value is 3. Everything's over 1. If it's perpendicular, it tells you that you need to flip that slope and you need to change it. So 3 over 1 becomes 1 over 3, and positive becomes negative. So your new slope is negative 1/3. Plug that in. Y equals mx plus b. This will be your x. This will be your y. and you'll get B's value equal to 17 over 3. Once you have B's value and M's value, you just plug them into your new equation.